Boyd, you don't know me. This is Terry Carter calling. The reason I'm calling is back in 1991, February, you wrote an article on the LUE map for the Treasure magazine.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought that article was interesting back there. And I'd always heard and thought that the LUE map come out of Utah, was found out of Utah, and had to deal with Spanish treasures. But then I just corresponding with a guy that says it had to deal with Germans hiding treasures over probably around in Arizona or New Mexico, and he thinks he's cracked the code. But I'm just wondering what you think of that, being I know you studied it for a long time. What's the true story of the LUE map?
I can tell you what the latest I found out. When I first sent that article in, I just blatantly said that Von Mueller had played a joke on us, and the answer ultimately would end up to be Fort Knox because of all the clues unfolding it, and the overlays, and this matches this on the dollar bill and that on the $5. And the editor rejected it. He said, gosh, Von Mueller's one of the most respected treasure hunters in the world. He says, we can't attack him. So I just let it sit, and then I resubmitted it later on without the reference to him being such a rascal, and they printed it. I think he had died or something, but so they weren't too afraid to offend him. In the meanwhile, I corresponded with him, and he told me to go to the Daughters of the Utah Pioneers and look up some information there, which I did. And he also told me the man who had found some of the caches of the LUE map, I think in Colorado and New Mexico. My states might be mixed up, but anyway, none that he knew of had been found in Utah, but the surrounding states, probably Colorado, New Mexico, California, maybe even Nevada. Yeah, I think there was one found in Nevada. I might even mention that in one of my articles.
You wrote more than one article on it, huh? I just have the one article here.
Yeah, because after Von Mueller sent me sort of vindication, I think he suspected that I figured he was pulling somebody's leg. He mentioned names of people. One was a doctor that had found one of the caches and bought himself a yacht and was sailing around the world on the money that he had got out of the LUE cache. And Von Mueller said something to the effect that he would I guess his son took over his business, and he would put all that under wraps as far as actual names, people, and location of the LUE caches until some year in the future. I guess which I read one article by his son since Von Mueller passed away, and he said that he didn't feel obligated to disclose some things.
Right.
And anyway, that's what I remember off the top of my head. Now, it wouldn't take an awful lot to pull out that information.
So you don't know, do you know where the LUE map came from, where it was found, or anything like that?
Well, I think that was why Von Mueller referred me to the Daughters of Utah Pioneers library, because they had printed in one of their books one of the original sketches of it.
Did you follow up on that, or?
Yeah, I went in there and Xeroxed it, but it didn't look. What it looked like to me is that Von Mueller had, he even said that he took that original sketch and had it prepared in a more graphic presentation.
Ah.
Well, it was his graphic presentation that matched the dollar bills and things like that. But the original sketch may have matched those things, But since in those days they didn't have transparent overlays or anything like that, I don't know.
So it didn't say, the Utah Daughters of Pioneers didn't say where it was found or anything about it, huh?
No, it was still pretty much a mystery. All the references that Von Mueller gave me that I looked up, and other people, of course, at the time those articles were coming out, were sending me their theories. And one man said he was off to locate one of the caches, and that he would let me, well, he even went so far as that he said he would send me a token sum of money gleaned from the cache after he found it. Well, I never heard from him again, so he must have ended up in frustration.
Yeah.
But just boiling it all down to the last summary, nobody really came up with anything that got me excited.
Yeah.
Von Mueller pretty well capped it by saying that several of the caches had already been uncovered, and I'm still not sure, in spite of that original sketch, when he prepared his graphic sketch, if he didn't match up those things with the dollar bills, because they fit perfectly. And I'm still not so sure that the answer to Von Mueller's involvement with this isn't Fort Knox, because that's where the greatest cache of gold bars are, is in Fort Knox itself, and I'm still not so sure that that wasn't his ultimate answer. But then anyway, these other men supposedly found 3 or 4 of the caches, and Von Mueller said there was 1 or 2 more left to be discovered. And as I talk to you, it pops back into my mind. He said that he knew the locations of these yet to be found, that he was no longer interested, and that was when he said he was going to put the cap on this until sometime in the future it could be published, and probably his son would do that. But then, like I say, I read that article by his son who said he didn't feel any particular obligation to go through with any of that stuff. Did you read that too?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
Well, let me read you what this guy wrote me, okay? The one in New Mexico is protected by the LUE code, okay? And then he sent me a copy of this LUE map. It was a real test for Nair's study, some kind of a deal he's developed to finding this stuff. The FBI had this code for the last 60 years, and he's talking about the LUE code. It was released to the general public in 1940 in an effort to have a brilliant private citizen to clue the FBI on the location of the gold bars. It is called the Mexican Gold Contraband of 1934. This, of course, is pure fiction. This is a German cache. The Germans hoped to have the failing American economy pay for their World War II efforts. This didn't happen, fortunately, because of the Gold Act, which was wisely placed in the Gold Amendment. Terry, much of my Nair studies and equipment come from the LUE project. I met some people that got me on the land, and an agreement was signed without a dime to accomplish the recovery. I've put $40,000 into this project, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. The cash should come in next year. I never wanted to do this alone, but no one showed up to share in the challenge. A lot like life, right? Here is what the Germans did, which I'm certain you will enjoy reading. They paid for all American services by cash so that no paper trail followed them. They knew that the FBI wanted M.O., so they gave the FBI a trunk full of money, M.O., that still has them stuck in Shiprock today, along with a host of other treasure hunters. I love wit, Terry, and treasure hunting is full of it. The LUE is an exact waybill to the German gold, but the coordinates given by the American $1 bill put you in an area where no gold will be found. However, what will be found at the coordinates is a giant land laid out by monuments. When this large land layout is plotted on a topographical map, this becomes a treasure hunter's treasure map. Amazing, isn't it? This two-dimensional layout is 1.5 miles high by 2.5 miles wide along the base leg. The key, 3 inches to the right of George's nose, is the key to the land layout and where exactly the bullion lies today. Why was the LUE made? It was made as a pun to the FBI carrying this message: Yankee, if we can't spend our money in your country, then you find it. The Germans were mad, and their efforts were foiled. The Germans knew that the LUE was a mistake, but they felt that they simply must jerk the tail of the dog that had plagued them with so much pain over the smuggled bullion. The forefather of 5 generations of these peoples was a German, planted in America just after the First World War to assist the old country on demand. The bullion wasn't taken out of the United States because the Germans felt that if the Americans confiscated the bullion, it would make them stronger. Hitler wouldn't live with that possibility because the Germans that lived here that made the unsolved encoded LUE died 6 months after the bullion was cached, and Germany didn't know where that point was nor how to crack the LUE code. That's basically, yeah.
So what's the fellow's name that sent you that?
He's Richard Walburn. So anyways, I just wondering what you thought of it, because I'd always heard, but I didn't never really know for sure that the LUE map was found up in Rock Creek in a saddlebag. But I never really knew. And then this guy's telling me, he sounded like he knew a lot more about this than I did. So I'm just curious and I knew that you wrote an article on it.
I think this Richard Walburn got in some kind of an argument with other LUE enthusiasts. I think Richard pretty well was satisfied that he had most of the answers. I'm pretty sure I've heard of him. But anyway, what he sent you, he definitely figures the $1 bill was a coordinate, doesn't he? Or
yeah,
a base for the map, that 1.5 by 2.5. I seem to remember that being the dimensions of the bills.
Huh.
Or something like that.
Oh, is that right?
But like I say, these things are kind of fuzzy in my mind right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, Richard Walburn's name. I remember I avoided him at the time because he was really, he wasn't open to anything other than his own idea. And at the time I was trying to be as flexible as possible. He may be right on. I'd never heard this German theory before.
Okay.
Hey guys, thanks for watching this video. Do me a favor and hit the like button if you liked it. I don't know if it helps me with YouTube or not, but I know it lets me know that people are interested in what I have to say and what I'm putting out. And then in my next video, I plan on sharing my private correspondences with a man who figured out that the LUE map was really a Nazi treasure map where the Nazis brought gold over here to the United States and then hid it when they got caught. I also will share an interview that I did with him when he got onto the property and discovered what he discovered. So if you don't want to miss that, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell notification so YouTube notifies you. And with that said, thank you, and that's a wrap.